Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Summer Food Service 2023 Program Non-Congregate Feeding Implementation Training Part 2. Today, we'll be discussing the new guidelines around the non-congregate feeding in SFSP. Just as a refresher, the congregate feeding is the traditional way of serving meals where children gather or congregate in a central location, such as a school or community center, to receive and eat their meals. Non-congregate feeding, on the other hand, refers to the method of delivering meals directly to the homes of eligible children or serving them at distribution sites such as schools or community centers without the requirement for the children to gather in a central location. On December 29, 2022, President Biden signed the Consolidated Appropriations Act 2023, or the Act, PL 117328. The Act included significant policy changes for child nutrition programming, including the authorization of a permanent non-congregate meal service through the Summer Food Service Program, or SFSP, and National School Lunch Program, NSLP, Seamless Summer Option, or SSO, for rural areas with no congregate meal service, and the Summer Electronic Benefits Transfer for Children Program, or Section 502 of the Act. The non-congregate model for rural areas is available in summer 2023, and Summer Electronics Benefit Transfer for Children program will be available in summer of 2024. The Act requires FNS to promulgate regulations to carry out these two changes. Regulations for these policy changes will be promulgated in advance of summer 2024. Implementation for non-congregate feeding is based on three primary sources of guidance. The first, the implementation guidance titled Memo SFSP 01-2023 Implementation Guidance, Summer 2023 Non-Congregate Meal Service in Rural Areas Revised. This Q&A was released on February 28th of 2023. It noted the two primary criteria for non-congregate feeding in summer of 2023. The first is that the area must be rural as defined by the USDA Rural Designation Map. And the second, that there could not be congregate feeding sites available in the area. The next guidance, released on April 20th of 2023, was titled SFSP 7-2023 Questions and Answers Number 2, Summer of 2023, Non-Congregate Meal Service in Rural Areas. The other primary source that guides the non-congregate feeding requirement in summer 2023 are best practices learned throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. Sponsors can provide non-congregate summer meals in rural areas that do not have congregate meal service. If the rural area meets the definition of an area in which poor economic conditions exist, per program regulations at 7 CFR 225.2, then meals for all children may be claimed for reimbursement. If the rural area does not meet the definition of an area in which poor economic conditions exist, only the meals served to children who are eligible for free or reduced price meals under the National School Lunch Program, NSLP, or the School Breakfast Program, SBP, may be claimed. Can SFAs operating SSO provide non-congregate meal service? Yes. SFAs operating the NSLP Seamless Summer Option, SSO, may provide non-congregate meal service as described in this guidance. Non-congregate meals served under the SSO are reimbursed at the free rates prescribed by the Department of Agriculture, USDA, for school meals and snacks served through NSLP and SBP. If suppers are provided, they would be reimbursed at the NSLP free rate for lunches. How do state agencies determine rural? States should continue designating rural areas as they have in prior summers. These designations now apply to both congregate and non-congregate meal service operations. FNS developed the Rural Designation Map to assist state agencies and sponsors in designating sites as rural. Instructions for using the map are available on the map link at http www.fns.usda.gov/rural designation. This is the map the Louisiana Department of Education uses each year to make rural determinations on online applications. The state agency will continue to use this map in summer of 2023. Here is a list of the parishes that are eligible for non-congregate feeding according to the USDA SFSP rural designation map. Again, since this map has been the basis of all rural and non-rural determinations in prior years in Louisiana, it will be used this summer for rural determinations. As you can see, there are 28 parishes that fall into the category of rural. States may use the following for identifying a rural pocket within a metropolitan statistical area, or MSA. States may submit rural pocket concurrence requests to their regional office to receive an expedited review. States may use the Rural Urban Commuting Area, or RUCA codes 4 through 10 as a baseline for identifying a rural pocket within a metropolitan statistical area. The RUCA codes were first developed by USDA Economic Research Service and the Federal Office of Rural Health Policy in collaboration with the WWAMI Rural Health Research Center to provide a detailed and flexible approach to delineating sub-county components of rural and urban areas. What does this mean for you? The state agency can utilize these tools to assess addresses submitted for consideration as a rural pocket. The state agency can also forward your specific address requests to the regional office for further consideration. Can non-congregate meals be provided in non-rural areas if program access is limited because of lack of transportation, safety concerns, lack of location to serve meals, or other similar reasons? No. Non-congregate meal service is only allowed in rural areas where no congregate meal service is available. State agencies and sponsors should work together to determine how best to leverage community resources to provide a congregate meal service that meets the needs of children in non-rural areas. How should state agencies identify whether an area has no congregate meal service for the purpose of determining if non-congregate meal service is allowable? State agencies have the discretion to determine whether an area has no congregate meal service. The state agency must ensure that the area the site proposes to serve is not or will not be served by a congregate meal service consistent with the requirement at 7 CFR 225.6 H1II. The state agency must also implement safeguards to prevent overlap between meal services to reasonably ensure children are not receiving more than the maximum allowance of SFSP meals per day at 7 CFR 225.16B3. We also must follow the priority system required by program regulations at 7 CFR 225.6B5 when approving applicants proposing to serve children in the same area. So what does this mean for you? If your organization was approved in 2022, you're in good standing with a state agency, and you would like to offer non-congregate feeding, you will need to submit a request to us via the Request a Site feature added to the CNP website. Please note, you will no longer use the jot form method for requesting any new sites you are sponsoring. A reminder, areas considered already being served will not be eligible for non-congregate site requests. You must not solicit applications for participation from any area that you have not been approved by the state agency to service. In order to access the Request Site feature, go to the purple Summer Feeding tab after you log into the website and select Applications from the left-hand column menu. Then select Request a Site. From there, you will need to complete the following request. Include the site name, contact phone number, and reason for the request. While this can be used to request both congregate and non-congregate site additions, please specifically note that it is a non-congregate site request if applicable. The agency must designate sites as non-congregate due to USDA guidance and regulations. You will also need to answer if the site has participated in any CNP before or if it's a new site, the anticipated start date of operations, and the physical and mailing addresses. Lastly, you will need to update the pre-operational site visit form completed by your sponsoring organization, as well as the LDH permit to operate for the site. The pre-operational site visit should be uploaded via the pre-approval form button. Please note that non-congregate feeding sites must have their feeding plan submitted to LDH for approval. If meals are shelf-stable, they may not require a permit, but LDH should still be notified of all non-congregate feeding plans just as they are notified for congregate feeding plans. Once you have completed all information, you can submit the request to the state agency for consideration. The state agency will return with comments any sites where additional information is needed. From there, the state agency must contact existing sponsors in the area to ensure the area the site proposes to serve is not or will not be served by a congregate meal service. Implement safeguards to prevent overlap between meal services to reasonably ensure that children are not receiving more than the maximum allowance of SFSP meals per day. We have to follow the priority system required by program regulations when approving applicants proposing to serve children in the same area. The state agency has already been in contact with sponsors in each of the 28 rural parishes, so we can make informed decisions about the need for non-congregate feeding locations in rural areas. Further, state agencies must ensure that the congregate and non-congregate sites will not serve the same population of children for the same meal service on the same day. Currently, the state agency has identified these areas of need in the month of June. These parishes identified in green are available for site requests for non-congregate feeding for all priority level sponsors. These parishes have either limited or closed congregate sites available. Any sponsor approved for non-congregate sites must have methods in place to ensure children are not being served more than the maximum number of meal types per child per day. The congregate status of the sponsors in orange has not yet been determined, and that data will be available by Monday, May 15th for any sponsor requesting that information. Parishes in red have adequate coverage of sites for the month of June. In Caldwell Parish, Columbia, Louisiana is covered, and other areas of the parish may be served. And in Evangeline Parish, Ville Platte is covered and considered ineligible. Other areas of the parish may be served. Oh, hold on. This is parishes needing coverage for the month of July. Site requests will be considered for the month of July, and the parishes listed under sponsors needed. If sponsors offer non-congregate meal service in rural areas, are they still required to follow existing SFSP program requirements? Yes. All SFSP program requirements and regulations 7 CFR 225 and other related regulations and instructions apply to both congregate and non-congregate meal service unless otherwise specified in guidance. What models of non-congregate meal service are allowed? Home delivery and meal pickup options may be used for summer 2023. In many cases, non-congregate meal service may look very similar to non-congregate service implemented during the COVID-19 public health emergency, which can serve as a reference point. State agencies opting to use these models must ensure that sponsors are able to maintain accountability and program integrity. For home delivery, this non-congregate meal service model is designed to deliver meals directly to homes. Delivery could be completed by mail or delivery service, or could be hand-delivered by the sponsor's staff, volunteers, or others. Meal pickup. This non-congregate meal service model is designed to provide packaged meals that are taken home for children to eat later. Examples of meal pickup include grab and go, curbside service, or take-home backpacks. Meal pickup is available to all children when the pickup site is an area-eligible area, or to children who are eligible for free or reduced price school meals when the pickup site is in an area that is not area eligible. Meals must be packaged and portioned to allow children to carry the food from the SFSP site to their home. Food safety is important for all meal service models. Sponsors should ensure food selections and packaging promote food safety. Sponsors should also include instructions on at-home storage and preparation. As with congregate SFSP meal service, sponsors must ensure non-congregate meal packages meet state and local health and safety requirements. Health permits and inspections. Only after sponsors submit a non-congregate meal service plan or checklist and receive the summer feeding temporary permit to operate from LDH will facilities or sites be eligible for submission of an NCMS site online application through the Child Nutrition Program website. Sites that require SFSP inspections each summer are as follows: non-school sites, including non-congregate sites, school sites that are not part of the National School Lunch Program and/or the School Breakfast Program, school sites that are a part of the NSLP and/or SBP that elect to operate under a summer sponsor other than their own school system, school sites that have a significant change in feeding models for summer feeding, including non-congregate feeding sites, and non-SFA central kitchens preparing food for distribution. Here are your grab and go requirements. First, submit a non-congregate new site request through the CNP website. If the site is rural, according to USDA guidance, and there are no congregate or non-congregate feeding sites already serving in the area, the state agency will set up a non-congregate site application. An accurate point of service must take place. Claiming of meals must be specific to the days for which the meals were intended. If a multi-day issuance occurs, a maximum of 5 days of meals may be served at one time. If a child is not present, the parent or guardian must complete a parent or guardian meal pickup form to verify the meal is going to an eligible child. If using a multi-day issuance, the sponsor must have methods to assure children are not receiving duplicate meals. Remember, you must be approved for a non-congregate site to be able to provide grab and go meals. Sponsors that are approved to provide a non-congregate meal service using the home delivery model must be able to identify and invite households of eligible children to participate and obtain written consent from the eligible child's parent or guardian that the household wants to receive delivered meals. In addition, sponsors must confirm the household's current contact information and the number of eligible children in the household to ensure the correct number of meals are delivered to the correct location. Sponsors must protect the confidentiality of participants and their households throughout the process in accordance with the confidentiality and disclosure provisions in the National School Lunch Act and SFSP regulations in 7 CFR 225.15F. Part 5 of the Eligibility Manual for School Meals provides specific guidance on applying the statutory and regulatory requirements and is available online at the link provided. Sponsors are encouraged to refer to the Policy Memorandum SP 16 CACFP 06 SFSP 10-2016 disclosure requirements for the child nutrition programs for more information. Some additional requirements for home delivery are: plans must be submitted to LDH and you must be permitted where applicable. Plans must always be submitted to LDH and a permit is required when meals aren't shelf stable. Non-congregate sites must be submitted for consideration through the CNP website request feature. No weekend delivery or issuance will be allowed. There's a max of a 5-day meal issuance. Meals should be claimed on the days for which they are intended. For example, if a 2-day issuance is served on a Monday, one meal will be claimed on Monday and one meal will be claimed on Tuesday. A max of 2 meals per day will be allowed in any combination except for lunch and supper together. Bulk items are not allowed. You must submit your cycle menu, serving sizes, and crediting information by food item to LDOE. In order for delivered non-shelf stable meals to be counted for claiming purposes, someone must be home to receive those deliveries. If you are serving food that is not shelf stable, then you must provide us with food safety information. If a sponsor wishes to use the SFA's student data as the basis for establishing their eligible population, they are required to enter into an MOU with that SFA. Sponsors that are not SFAs must have MOUs on the proper handling and storage of student data with the applicable SFA that ensure consistency with the above stated confidentiality requirements. It's important to note that SFAs are not required to agree to enter into MOUs with requesting non-SFA sponsors. Some reminders for your multi-day issuance. The maximum number of meals that may be offered at a non-congregate site and a congregate site is the same. Up to 2 meals or 1 meal and 1 snack per child per day may be offered in any combination except for lunch and supper. The state agency will use discretion in approving sponsors by site application for multi-day distribution of meals for the allowable number of reimbursable meals that would be provided for up to a maximum of a 5-day calendar period of meals. The limit for grab and go and parent pickup of meals is up to a 5-day issuance. 10 meals representing up to 2 meal combinations per day, not to include lunch and supper as a combination. For clarification purposes, FNS refers to bulk items and the non-congregate meal service as specific food items provided in larger quantity than required for a single meal service. For example, a loaf of bread and a package of luncheon meat may be distributed as bulk items instead of being pre-assembled into individual sandwiches. A unitized meal is a meal that is individually portioned, packaged, and served as a unit. Beverages such as milk or juice may be packaged separately, but served with the unitized meal. In Louisiana, only unitized meals are permitted in the non-congregate SFSP. Bulk items will not be allowed for home delivery of meals, such as number 10 cans, due to a variety of safety issues and safe food handling and food storage requirements and quality concerns related in light of home kitchens and standard food preparation and storage techniques commonly practiced in homes. FNS refers to multi-day meal issuance and the non-congregate meal service when multiple days of meals are provided in one day, whether unitized or comprised of bulk items. For example, a sponsor may provide 5 days of meals every Monday. Unitized meals served in this fashion would be provided in 5 distinctly packaged units or sets of menu items. Bulk items, while not unitized in this fashion, must still be able to be portioned into specific quantities in line with the applicable meal pattern requirements to preserve the quality of the intended menu items and/or meals. In Louisiana, a maximum of 5 days of meals may be served at once, with no more than 2 meals per child per day, not to include lunch and supper. No weekend meal issuance of multi-day meals will be permitted. If a sponsor wishes to serve meals that cover 7 days per week, meals may be issued in a 4-day meal box and a 3-day meal box. For example, a sponsor could serve a 3-day meal box on Mondays to cover Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and a 4-day box issued on Thursdays to cover Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The maximum number of meals distributed, max of 5 days or 10 meals, must coincide with how often the site is operating a state agency approved meal service. Let's look at a few examples on the next few slides. Here's an example of a 5-day meal distribution. Here, all 5 breakfasts and 5 lunches are given out on Monday. If you would like to provide meal service for 7 days, you must provide those meals on a weekday. In this example, a 4-day box is given out on a Monday, and a 3-day box is given out on a Friday to cover the weekend meals. Remember, no distribution is to be done on the weekend. A hybrid congregate, non-congregate schedule can be utilized if you would like to cover 7 days of meals. In this example, congregate meals are served on weekdays, and a 3-day issuance is given on Friday to cover the weekend. If you are planning on offering multi-day boxes, please be sure to use the appropriate documentation for your meal counts. Here is an example of a meal count form for a 4-day issuance serving lunch and snack to 42 children. You will need to indicate the days and meals being issued along with any adult or leftover meals on the form. A copy of the state form can be found on our website or by using the link here. Some additional things to note. No second meals may be claimed by sponsors for NCMS sites. Meal service times must be accurate and up to date on the CNP SFSP online application. Meal times must be approved by the state agency prior to implementation. Sponsors will be required to issue announcements in the local media and publicize the days of delivery or pickup when providing non-congregate meal service at approved sites. Be sure to place your And Justice for All poster at all non-congregate meal sites and in the window or on the vehicle of any delivery vehicle bringing meals to homes. All sponsors of non-congregate feeding sites will be required to make the following attestation. I attest that all foods offered will comply with the SFSP menu pattern requirements or NSLP SBP meal patterns for school food authorities. Nutrition facts, labels, product formulation statements, CN labels, and standardized recipes must be maintained on file to prove creditable yield for the USDA CNP meal pattern requirements. Only single service items will be provided and no bulk containers are allowable. Meals must be unitized for service, and offer versus serve is not an option for non-congregate feeding for both SFA and non-SFA sponsors. All multi-meal issuance boxes will include a menu with serving sizes and instructions for preparation if applicable. Be sure to gather all of your required documentation prior to submitting your claim. Examples and forms can be found on our website at the links or QR codes provided. In order for a sponsor to claim meals for reimbursement, they must have a system in place to accurately count, record, consolidate, and report the number of reimbursable meals by category. The sponsor can use a manual or an electronic system for counting and consolidating meals at each school. The employee at the point of service must ensure that all meal pattern requirements are met before claiming the meal as reimbursable. There must be a system to count the number of meals served. Point of service must occur regardless of where the meal is served. The point of service is the moment in time when a reimbursable meal is served to an eligible child. If this is done via home delivery of meals, the meal boxes must be counted as a person at a home receives the meal or meals. Are SFSP monitoring requirements of non-congregate sponsors and sites the same as they are for congregate sponsors and sites? Yes. All existing monitoring requirements for state agencies and sponsors apply to non-congregate sponsors and sites. This includes, but is not limited to, pre-approval visits, sponsor and site reviews, follow-up reviews, and meal preparation facility reviews by state agencies, as specified in 7 CFR 225.7, and site visits and reviews conducted by sponsors, as specified in 7 CFR 225.15. All non-congregate sites will be considered new sites in SFSP 2023 and will therefore need a pre-approval visit, a first 2-week site visit, and a first 4-week site review, as well as your racial ethnic data form. As part of the state agency's review of the sponsor, all sponsors using the home delivery model should provide evidence of written consent from the eligible child's parent or guardian that the household wants to receive delivered meals. You will have to provide a record of how many children are eligible to receive meals in the home and how many meals were provided in each meal delivery. And if applicable, provide a copy of the MOU between the sponsor and the SFA for use of household eligibility information. As part of the meal service observation, the state agency should observe meal packaging, including the assembly of meals if applicable, observe a meal delivery, ensure that meal pattern requirements are met, ensure appropriate number of meals are delivered, and that the meal delivery times are followed as stated on the application approved by the state, ensure that local health, food safety, and sanitation standards are followed, locate the And Justice for All poster and that it's properly displayed on vehicles, and civil rights requirements are met, and ensure compliance with other state agency requirements as outlined at 7 CFR 225.7 or 7 CFR 210 and 220. If the site is operating a meal pickup model, state agencies should verify that the sponsor provides packaged meals that can be carried from the non-congregate site to the homes. Verification should be accomplished with on-site methods as determined by the state agency. Sponsors approved by the state agency to distribute meals to parents or guardians must maintain accountability and program integrity. This includes establishing procedures and processes that ensure meals are distributed only to children or to the parents or guardians of eligible children, and that duplicate meals are not distributed. As part of the meal service observation, the state agency will observe meal packaging, observe meal pickup, ensure meal pattern requirements are met, ensure meal pickup times are followed as stated on the application, ensure appropriate numbers of meals are distributed, and that local health, food safety, and sanitation standards are followed. The And Justice for All poster is displayed and civil rights requirements are met, and that all other requirements are met as outlined in 7 CFR 225. As previously stated, monitoring requirements at 7 CFR 225.7 apply to both congregate and non-congregate meal service models, which include conducting sponsor and site reviews, review of food service operations, and meal claim validation. When reviewing an SFSP sponsor that operates both congregate and non-congregate sites, the state agency should prioritize selecting non-congregate sites as part of their review. In addition, the state agency should separately review a sponsor's meal count records for congregate and non-congregate meal services. Detailed records must be kept for each meal type separately, including breakfast, lunch, supper, and snacks. Separate records should also be reviewed for temperature logs. Food served during congregate meal services is normally held in a refrigerator, cooler, or other permanent type of warming or cooling device, while food is served within the home delivery model will require use of equipment in a mobile setting. The purpose of a full site review of food service operations is to ensure the site is operating as described in the approved site application. A full site review of meal service for non-congregate sites may look different than a full site review of a congregate meal service, depending on the meal service model being used. A full site review of a non-congregate site includes reviewing the entire meal service time, which is the time established by the sponsor for a site to distribute meals. For example, with a home delivery meal service model, a full meal service review may include observing the meals being loaded into delivery vehicles, checking meal logs and delivery routes, and additional items outlined by the state agency. The sponsor must also ride along with or follow the delivery driver along the distribution route to observe the meal delivery. In the instance of a meal pickup model, such as grab and go, meal service review may also include observing the self-preparation of meals. In all non-congregate service models, the sponsor must ensure eligible children are receiving the proper number of meals that meet nutritional standards and are consistent with all applicable state and local health, safety, and sanitation standards. KidCare is a software program purchased by the state agency for your use. It is a point-of-service software system with many other features that can protect the integrity of your program. It has over 200 edit checks built in to help eliminate common errors in food program documentation. It has electronic satellite forms, menus and menu production records, claim upload feature with just a few clicks, online electronic meal counts, error reports to show you where you or your site's mistakes are being made, and more. Most of your documentation as a sponsor is submitted to you electronically from your sites and is checked for errors by the software itself. It is not a current requirement for you to use the program, but it is highly recommended. There are 2 in-person trainings this month where you can learn more about how to utilize KidCare to make your program easier to manage. KidCare software could be done in vehicles as meals are delivered or at locations as children pick up meals. It is web-based, so you can use phones or tablets to record data on the go. If you would like to learn more about Minute Menu or KidCare for summer sponsors and can't make an in-person training, then you can visit the links provided. There are 2 types of trainings available to you, self-guided or instructor-led. You can access both on the Louisiana training page by using the link. You can go through the modules yourself by clicking on the SFSP button, or sign up for guided training by clicking on the Get Trained, I Am Ready button. These guided trainings will be available soon and are available on a first-come, first-served basis. Approved sponsors can email success@kidcare.com for login information. We have created checklists for you to ensure that if you use KidCare, you will meet all of our state requirements. There are separate checklists for single site sponsors and multi-site sponsors that will walk you through all of the steps you need to complete before submitting your claim to us. KidCare is currently making changes to its website, and we will post these checklists to our website after the modifications are made to reflect the changes. If you have any questions, you may contact the Louisiana Department of Education, Division of Nutrition Support at childnutritionprograms@la.gov or by calling us at 225-342-9661. If you have any questions at this time, you may enter them into the chat and we will do our best to answer those for you. I have several state agency staff on here to assist. So I think I'm going to stay on for questions. If anyone has any, we'll stay on for a bit to answer those, or if you feel more comfortable reaching out via email, you may do that as well. Okay, well, I guess since we don't have any questions, I'm going to go ahead and give you some of your time back in your day. And I thank everyone for joining us here. And again, it's child nutrition programs at la.gov or 225-342-9661. So thank you for joining us.